Well, House Republicans moved late last week on immigration reform. On Friday, the House passed a bill to help high-skilled foreign workers become U.S. citizens. But what are the hopes for this passing the Senate? And how far could this go to solving the nation's immigration problems? Bob Dane is a communications director for the Federation of American Immigration Reform, or FAIR. And Fernando Hernandez is an immigration attorney. Fernando, Bob, welcome.
Francisco.
Bob, good to see you. Bob, let me start with you. What does this bill do?
Well, you know, half the bill, they've got it half right anyways. It scraps the diversity lottery, which is a good thing because the diversity lottery simply pulls names out of a hat randomly as though it were some sort of game show and then assigns 55,000 green cards. The bill kills that. That's good. I mean, if that's all it did, then count us in. Unfortunately, it takes those 55,000 green cards and then gives them to foreign students as green cards. The problem with that is it displaces and replaces U.S. residents. I mean, there's widespread unemployment in the high-tech sector, as there is all over the United States. And, you know, do we want skilled immigration? Certainly, but we need less of it. We need provable standards by way of labor certification. I mean, this just ignores the fact you spent $150,000, put your kid through college, now your kid's sitting in the living in the basement, unemployed, and yet 55,000 additional green cards to foreign students from India, China, Pakistan, and other areas are coming in and taking jobs that rightfully belong to U.S. residents.
Francisco, but what about that? I mean, there is an argument. Look, we also need high-tech skilled workers.
Well, the fact of the matter is this is really just political bait on both sides. We all know that it has no chance of passing in a lame Congress. But you know what? Let's look at it as the glass half full. I agree with Bob, actually 100%. And you know what? We've agreed and had this dialogue for 7 years. But Congress has refused to have this dialogue for 7 years. So let's look at this as the glass half full. We're finally having a dialogue about what this country needs for immigration reform. And you know what? Kay Bailey Hutchison proposed her Achieve Act. Call it Dream Act, call it Achieve Act. They're having the conversation. We're finally moving forward, and everybody agrees that there is now some common ground, like children of undocumented aliens that went to school here. They consider themselves American and want to become legal American residents. Citizenship, we'll talk about that later. But you know what? It's a new day. It's a new year. We're going to move forward.
Well, you know, Francisco, I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's such an intractable issue. In your view, you just threw out a few of the topics. How do we solve this problem when you have so many undocumented people here and they're not going anywhere?
Well, and you know what? Let's do the math. 12 million people, $1,000 a year into the Social Security system over the next 20 to 30 years is a potential, I'm not good at math, but about $360 billion into the Social Security system. Let's talk with our pocketbook. Guys, we need these tax contributors. Let's look at it for what we have in common instead of finger pointing and cussing at each other. I just told you, the FAIR has some pretty good proposals out there, and I think this is what we have to do is begin this dialogue.
Bob, Francisco says you got some good ideas. What are they?
Well, you know, look, the best idea, right? By the way, Francisco and I, we certainly disagree on this bill, but for different reasons, because anything short of a massive amnesty bill for 12 million illegal aliens is going to be vetoed by the Democrats. They're hoping to have a massive amnesty bill in spring. That's probably going to happen. The Republicans are probably going to be looking at a bipartisan consensus contributing to their own self-destruction to do that. But ultimately, what we need here, we don't need additions on a bad foundation. Ultimately, we need to change our entire immigration system from this insanity of chain migration whereby we are issuing green cards in the United States, 1 million of them a year, based simply on the fact that you happen to be related to someone here. We need less immigration, and we need to move it to a skills-based. We'd have less people competing for scarce jobs, and guess what? Those immigrants coming in would have better skills, more valuable skills to the value-added economy we have, and they'd be more prosperous. We don't need amnesty. We need a complete redo of the foundations of our immigration system.
Francisco, I think we're going to get that.
Bob, I think we're going to... our side's going to have to give in on the automatic citizenship. I agree with you on that. But you know what? This deal about we're giving out green cards, that doesn't matter. Let's first figure out what to do with the kids, 15 to 25, 28, 30, that everybody agrees committed no crime of their own. Let's work on the common ground, and then let's move on to the 12 million potential tax contributors that are going to save us economically in this country.
Well, see, there's the agenda, 12 million. This, you know, the agenda for Francisco is not just the DREAM Act. It is a massive amnesty, and he just said it.
All right, well, Bob...
Well, I didn't say amnesty. I say we're going to have to give that up.
All right. that's the debate, and it'll continue unless we get some reform, obviously. Francisco Hernandez and Bob Dane, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And, of course, this is not going anywhere. There'll be a lot more discussion on the issue of immigration tomorrow night.